So what's going on, guys? What's
Hi.
up? Hello. Hola.
Afternoon.
¿Cómo está?
All the things.
Yeah, let me take these off. I can't see anything, but it'll adjust. Yeah. So
Second video.
second video episode.
Yay.
As you can tell, she's super excited.
Yeah. My mom watched the first episode and pointed out that I didn't wear the hat that she bought me, so that one's for you.
Now, I'm now realizing I put my hat back on, so I'm going to have to take the headphones off
Oh,
again.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, we're going through this
yeah.
again.
It is what it is. Okay, so, yeah. Well, welcome back, and hopefully we didn't run you off with the last video. I mean, our scary mugs and then Lizzie.
Dude, I noticed when you're editing, like, I move around a lot, and I was like, that's unfortunate.
So, all right. So, what are we talking about today?
We're going to talk about judgy Christians. Specifically,
Judgy Christians.
yes, specifically about, like, how judgy they are about conversions, celebrity conversions, regular conversions to Christianity, and maybe, just the fact that we're overly judgy about each other. Judgy
Okay.
Judgersons. Yeah.
I think we can all fall into that category of guilty for that, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, at times.
We'll start up at the
So-
top, like celebrities, and then go from there.
All right, cool. Well, welcome to the Truth Response. All right, today we're going to make Matt pray.
Matt pray.
Oh, yeah. This is Matt.
Oh, yeah. That is me.
I'm Lizzie.
Nah.
And I'm Derek. Forgot to do that.
Yeah.
But Matt's going to pray today.
Matt's going to pray. And I'm going to take off my hat.
Yeah, I better do that too.
I did it without taking my headphones off. Did you see that? That was skills. All right. Lord, thank you for another day to get on here and be seen and talk about these things. Please guide our conversation. And even though we're going to probably go down some rabbit holes, allow us to find truth to put out for those who are listening. And allow this conversation to be helpful and glorify you in the ways that only you can make it do so. And we pray, ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so I can't put it back on. I'll keep working on that.
Yeah, better practice.
Better practice. So anyway, yeah, so this whole thing kicked off because Monday I was really excited about something, and so that kind of kicked off an office conversation. And so what it was is, so the celebrity Russell Brand got baptized this past week. And I was super excited about it. Mainly because I've been kind of loosely, and I mean loosely, following his kind of journey to Christianity. I started seeing a change in him a while back. And so I started kind of checking in from time to time, and I started seeing, like, go from, like, that he might get it. He might be understanding to, like, I think he's starting to understand. And then it started going, I think he's got it. I think he's starting to get this. And so he announced that he was going to be baptized, and then he did get baptized, and he's been really excited about it. And he's been talking about it, and the things he's saying are really, I think, pretty good.
Yeah.
And so I was excited about that. And I was a fan of his because I always thought he was funny. It's weird to say that you're a fan of his for some people because of his past.
Yeah.
Because Russell Brand, he does have a past. Actually, technically, he's got, like, 2 pasts.
I picture his face, but I have no idea, like, what his past is. So go ahead and share that.
Well, he had a drug past.
Okay.
and then he had like raunchy movie past.
Oh, okay.
So, and some of his stand-up was kind of in that same boat. So, but he has gone. He kind of started to pull away from that mainstream life of Hollywood, and he started to kind of push against it. Some of what he calls the mainstream agenda, or what he would
like. The thing that I've seen consistently though with him, he's always been irreverent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just kind of in that space, like, okay, like, this is what's the norm or whatever. Like, yeah, no.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, the fact that he did it, at first I was like, oh, that's cool. And then, but now that he's taking this journey. But the whole conversation, like, I was excited about it. And then it was Nick who had said to me, but what grinds my gears, because that's exactly what he said. And he said, is when these celebrities or people come to Christianity, start conversion, and then people start criticizing it. And so I thought it would be great to talk about, because people have a hard time with people like him coming to Christianity. And so I figured, let's open up with that. Like, why do you think that people have a hard time with people? I mean, maybe it's just his past, but like I see this with other celebrity conversions as well.
Well, it's definitely not a new thing. Right?
Yeah.
We see that in Scripture happening with one of the biggest names in the whole Bible besides Jesus, Paul.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he murdered Christians, and then the disciples rejected him, right? The apostles rejected him upon his conversion. So, yeah, it's a great question. Honestly, I mean, we very much want to project our own morality upon others and backdate it, right? Like, especially those of us who've been in the church for a long time, it's really easy to get into that state of, well, but you had this.
Yeah.
I didn't go down that path.
There's a bit of self-righteousness there.
Yeah.
Right.
But why?
Self-righteousness and fear. I think some of it's fear.
Fear of what, though?
Yeah.
That people are going to be like, well, this is what he's done in the past, and that makes it okay.
I don't think it makes it okay. I think the fact that
No.
he's turning from it, I mean, that's repentance right there.
Right, but the fear of the thought of, well,
He's a Christian, and then everybody goes back and sees all the things he did, and like, okay,
Yeah.
that was my no. There's no like qualifier like, oh, that was my BC days.
BC days. Yeah, well, I mean, perhaps. The thing is that, everybody's got a bit of a past. And the thing is going before Christ, anything that you do that is not what God wills for your life is sin. And that sin separates you in the same degree as anyone else's sin. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, we're now just pointing at this. I think the danger comes in when you have like Russell Brand or Justin Bieber is another one people love to jump on. And
Kat Von D.
yeah.
well, and she's newer, newish. My hesitancy, I got a personal hesitancy with Justin Bieber. Not that I would say whether he's a Christian or not, but like his non-Christian behavior kind of continued after his claiming of Christ. Not whatever. Like that's not even the hugest deal, right? Like to me, you don't clean the whole house overnight, right?
Well, you
like
don't.
That's
Yeah,
one of those
exactly.
things. And one of the biggest ones that I got in college was Brian Head Welch from Korn.
Yeah.
Because if you've seen some of his Christian music videos, it's like, whoa, that's real sketch. Like that's really, really, that's on the edge, right?
You could say the same for Alice Cooper. I mean, he's still going out and doing his show.
But Brian Head Welch is doing it under a Christian, like this is Christian music now, like not the Korn stuff that he does, but like because he was doing that. But when he went on his own, he was like, this is Christian music, and his music videos were risque.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I always came back with was like, hey, look, like this is where he was.
Yeah.
This is where he's at, and like the people he's talking to are not those of us who've been in the church the whole time, right? Like like, he's talking to the people that were his Korn fans, right? His Korn followers. He's talking to those people, and he's like, okay, this is the imagery that they used in that style of music, and he's reaching people with a gospel message using similar imagery. Like, how can you? It's hard to judge that. Like,
yeah, it is. I mean, I think so. I think we kind of touched on. Sometimes people, for some reason, I don't know where they got it. Exactly, but I think when somebody comes to Christ that they're going to instantly be perfect. I'm like, were you? Because I don't think you were. And in fact, if you're the one judging them that way, you're still not perfect, because that shows that you're still not there. But the thing is, I get it that, like, when you have a celebrity like Russell Brand, when you have a celebrity like Justin Bieber or Welcher or even Alice Cooper or any of these guys, or even the Baldwins, is it Stephen Baldwin?
I think so.
That, but they have a status which has a lot of eyes on them. I think that invites more criticism, but we still see the same criticism even with regular folks. Anyone that has, sometimes people come to Christ and maybe they've been on the streets, or they were a drug user or whatever it may be, and people still like, are you really saved? Like, you forget that they can be saved and still be a work in progress.
Right.
The worst part is for a guy like for celebrities is that they're still in the public eye. So it's hard to be seen at all times trying to progress.
Well, I think that something that, not that any of them are watching, but if you are, or if you know somebody, right, like you're friends with a celebrity, first off, we'd love to talk with him. Secondly,
I'd love to sit down. I would love to have a conversation with Russell Brand. That dude.
Truthfully, like I would be cool with any celebrity coming on our show. Like,
absolutely.
If you got connections, let's make this thing happen. Like, we totally are down for that respectful conversation between two parties. But I think a piece of advice, if you are in the public eye, is that just be transparent. You still make mistakes, or you got a past or whatever, just be like, yo, I'm a work in progress. I'm trying, but I slip and fall. And if you are just upfront with it, because you have a responsibility to some of that, because you are such a public figure, everything that you do then is representing the one who you're claiming to represent at that point. So you do have some heavier responsibility just because of how much notoriety you have.
Yeah,
so
I think that's why some people get really excited about it. Like when Kanye, said that he was Christian, a lot of people get really excited about certain celebrities proclaiming Christ, because we'd love to have a public figure as a testament, if you will, that Christianity is good. We want people on our team that are out there in the public figure, so we can point to and go, see, he believes too, as if we need that justification through the public eye, which we don't. But I get that. When the thing that got me the most excited, specifically when it came to the Russell Brand thing, is because I've watched the progression, and I've seen him start to understand things and get things, and to where I'm like, yeah, I think that's right. I think you got that right. And he actually admits a couple of things. He's been very admissive to his past, or his pasts, as I like to think of them, because I feel like there's kind of two different layers of that. But he also, since his baptism, is talking about his journey and how, he knows he's going to make mistakes, and that he just wants to keep on this journey and going on that path. And I'm like, listen to him saying, like, yeah, I think you're getting the idea of what this is, because the Christian path is a long path, and sometimes longer for other people. People forget that salvation is instant, but sanctification is such a long process sometimes. And the fact that he seems to be getting that a little bit is what got me excited. I'm like, I think you really are starting to get it. For me, as long as I can see, I don't try to doubt anyone's faith unless I don't see any progress. And that's when I start to go, okay, so are you really there or are you not? Because to me, faith is always pushing forward, pushing upward, pushing to grow. It's an action verb. It's not sedimentary. It's just you have to keep going. So you have to, But so that idea, that the fact that I've seen progress and stuff like that, and Justin Bieber is one where it's like, there's times where I'm like, are you taking a step forward or a step back? But he's got. I don't spend a lot of time, looking into Justin Bieber.
Sure.
But there's been things where I've seen where I'm like, I think you are starting to make progress, because I hear another thing about where his past was and some of the things he struggled with. So I'm like, okay, well, if you're working from that, trying to get away from that, and I can see some things, great. Then there's something where I'm like, oh, maybe you're just having a bad day. But the problem is, like I said before, with the public eye, everybody can see everything, and they like to nitpick it,
Which, in all honesty, they're being nitpicked anyways. Like, before the conversion, before any of this, like, if honestly, they're probably better equipped than most people to be picked like that, because they're used to it. I mean, not that it's a good thing and not that it's something that's okay, but they're somewhat, because they're in the public eye, used to that kind of thing. And so, and I've also noticed, like, most of them are not, like, what you would consider mainstream, like, celebrities. I
don't know. I mean, like, you got, what's his name from Guardians of the Galaxy? Like,
Chris Pratt.
Yeah. I mean, he's mainstream.
Yeah. He gets a lot of flack, though.
Oh, sure.
As soon as he steps out of line,
Yeah.
Then there's things he does which are fantastic.
He's mainstream now, but, like, he wasn't always always mainstream.
No.
But, like, I feel like a lot of them are kind of have been, like, the rebels in Hollywood anyway.
But I feel like, since, for him as an example, I think that he has, since getting notoriety and becoming mainstream, has spoken out about his faith, and been right there every opportunity he's gotten.
Yeah.
So
my favorite is he got that one award, and
that was great.
Preached the gospel. I was like, yes.
Yeah, and he snuck it in, like it was like one of those, like he like said a couple of things, and then he was like, learn to pray, and then kind of snuck it in there, and then he said a couple of things, and he was like, preach the gospel. Like it was great. Like it was about as perfect as you could do in the setting. Yeah. Right. So, and still make it, like, I don't know, to make it the most acceptable to the people that he's talking to.
Well, yeah, the most accepted. So sometimes it's not about being acceptable; it's about trying to be impactful. So you want it to
that's
be
what
accepted.
I mean. Yeah.
So I'm with you. And then so, like, look at, like, Mark Wahlberg, right? Is another example. There's things where he's done things I'm like, man, you're not really living up to what you're saying. And then there's times where I feel like he is.
I've seen a few movies of his that would be like,
no, I think you're pushing the boundaries.
I'm surprised you took that role, but
yeah, when you claim Christ and then you come out in your underwear. I don't know. But so, whatever it is. But I mean, there's a few of them like that where it's like, okay, you want to get behind them,
right?
And rally, because and back to what I was talking about before. It is nice to think that there's someone that we can point to and go, yeah, it's not just us lowly people. There's people up there too that are in the public eye. We talked about this. I don't know if we talked about it on here, but you and I have talked about Mark Calloway. The Undertaker. And he's not the only wrestler.
No, him and Hulk Hogan, like, they both have been on Joe Rogan and preach the gospel on Joe Rogan's podcast, and it completely blew me away. I wasn't expecting it with either one of them talking about their faith. And Hogan even went as far to be like when Joe Rogan was kind of like, like starting to question, the question. He was like, "Do you want me to stop? You want me to end the podcast right now?" Like, he was like, "No, I'm going to share this. This is what the truth is." And it was, like, really kind of intense, but Joe Rogan was like, "Oh, well, yeah, no, this is what that platform is for, is open to everybody," which was also kind of cool. Like,
yeah,
he was like, no, go ahead, So
I was surprised.
It was cool. It was neat, and the converse of that, like, right, the opposite is like Nature Boy, right? Ric Flair.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's been on there, and he's still living his whack job lifestyle, right? Which, I mean, it just goes to show, like, you hear these guys talk about where their past was. You've seen it. You know, a lot of times you see it because they're in the public eye, and then you, like, look at the way they're acting now and how they're, you know, who they are, how they represent themselves, you know, or present themselves. Like, it's changed. You know, and you can notice that change. You can tell that change. They're not hooked to all the junk that they turned to before, you know. And yeah, I don't know. It's I don't know.
Yeah, it's really. I tell you what was surprising to me is that when The Undertaker was put in the Hall of Fame for WWE, that he during his acceptance speech, you know, talked about his faith in Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I'm like, here we go. I mean, this is big. This is in front of so many people that are going to watch this forever, and they did not do anything. They let it be, and I was like, this is great.
Well, okay.
I was a little surprised.
Well, how do you feel? Okay, so here's a little bit of a kickback to that. The majority, I would guess, of the WWE followers are conservative, and I would guess that a lot of them are Christians, or at least Christian adjacent. They grew up in the church, don't mind that kind of thing. Like, do you think that was maybe easier for him to do there, or no?
I think perhaps. Also, the fact that he is like the legend's legend,
right?
Like,
he is the legend.
I mean, like, yeah. I mean, he.
If I still get emotional and chills down my spine when he comes out for 2 seconds on WrestleMania, like,
yeah, he is a legend. I mean,
yeah.
Just the name puts so much imagery in your head. But the thing is like, I don't think you could take that away from him. I think that would cause a bigger problem for the company, is try to censor him in any way, shape, or form.
Not to mention the company is all about not censoring since forever, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, so the thing is like, but I mean, he's not the only wrestler. I mean, you got Shawn Michaels, and you said Hulk Hogan.
Right, and Shawn Michaels has got quite the story, too, with his conversion. You got Sting. Sting's been doing, like, they did Christian wrestling tours for a while.
He's done Christian movies.
He has. He did Revelation Road.
Yes, he was.
He was one of the bikers in that.
And he was on, there was a movie called The Encounter, and he played a character on that was, he actually played oppositional to Jesus, where he was kind of trying to be.
He kind of played that in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but the thing is,
he's got the face for it.
And the guy, I tried to get Bruce Marciano to come on the show. He is the guy that played Jesus in the Encounter series.
Oh, cool.
So when you're ready to do interviews again, Bruce, we want you on. But
you're calling him out.
Yeah, I love him though. I really do. He's such a great dude. He's one of the guys that, like, I reached out to him one day just because I saw a pizza joint that had his name on it, and I was like, oh my gosh, check this out, and I sent a picture to it, and then we just started a conversation. Like, he was so great. There's not a lot of celebrities that you can actually reach out to and they'll actually engage with you, but he did, and I thought that was so awesome, and he's really encouraging, by the way.
So, I mean, we talk about all these guys that are kind of still accepted, right, within Hollywood.
Yeah.
But then you've got, like, guys that were legends in Hollywood, at least for my childhood, right? Yeah. That, and we've talked about him before, Kevin Sorbo, who Hollywood tried to bury him, and he was like, nah, I'll just do my own thing.
Yeah,
and
I love him.
I mean, like, seriously, so much respect. Props to him for saying, I'm not going to just take this laying down. I'm not going to give in. I'm not going to quit. I'm just going to make my own films. And if they're a little bit cheaper made, then that's fine. I'll put my own money into it, and I'll do what I believe is right, and I will do what I believe in. And Hollywood tried to bury him. I mean, and didn't succeed. He's like cancelable, right? Because he's not going to let them. He's just going to produce his own stuff. So, props to him. I know he's got a charity out there or a place where you can donate to his production studio and stuff. Go check it out. But support those guys who are like, I'm not going to let Hollywood dictate what I can believe and speak on and what roles I can play and what I'm going to do in film.
So that's actually very interesting that you said that, because there have been some celebrities who we talked about Kevin Sorbo and we talked about Kirk Cameron.
Right.
But there's some other ones that I've seen in Christian movies, and when they got there, I was actually surprised. One was Dean Cain. Dean Cain was Superman with Lewis and Clark. Remember? You guys,
like the TV series?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So like, Dean Cain in he was in God's Not Dead, but he's done a couple, and I'm like, okay.
He was in God's Not Dead?
Yeah, he was.
He was
he played
the lawyer guy.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I completely missed that.
Oh, yeah. I thought he did a fantastic job with it. But you have him, Sean Astin. Mm-hmm. Of course.
Which, I haven't seen much of his, like, Christianity stuff, though.
He's been in some things. And then you got Kirk's sister from Full House, Candace Cameron Bure, right?
Right.
Yeah, so she's done a lot of things.
Hallmark.
Yeah, well...
She is like the staple person for Hallmark.
Melissa Joan Hart, she did God's Not Dead too.
Yeah.
You have these celebrities that suddenly start doing... Oh, you know what I saw? And it's not on my list that I'm looking at here because I just did a quick Google search, but Urkel. The dude that played Urkel. Yes. Jamal, what is his name?
White?
Jamal White, yeah. Jamal White was in one. I was watching, it was on Pureflix, I think. There was a movie and he played, and I was like, this is a Christian movie. And it's got Urkel in it.
Well, I mean, we can't also do the opposite, right? Like, we can't do the opposite and say that everybody that's in a Pureflix film or a Christian film is therefore Christian because they were in the film,
well, I guess so.
Or that they have those beliefs, right? It could just be like, hey, buddy, we're buddies, can you come play this part? And, yeah, I mean, like, whatever.
I'll give you that, but if you see a lot of them where that seems to be something they like to do, then I would...
I mean, I'm assuming the payoff's not incredible.
No.
As much so for Christian films as secular films, but...
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not in that industry. But if you are, or know somebody who is, we'd love to talk to you.
I'd love to talk to David A.R. White. He is a...
Who is that?
David A.R. White is... he's kind of a producer, director, actor. He runs Pureflix. That's his thing. Like...
Is that the blonde dude?
He's the blonde dude.
All right, I love him.
He's in God's Not Dead.
And Redemption Road, isn't he?
And Redemption Road.
Such a good movie. You guys should see it. There's 3 of them. It's a trilogy. Great
They're going to do a series, too.
Of Redemption Road?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, when that's ready. But I think he's a very interesting person.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk to him. So, David, I might be messaging you if you're... I can't remember if I've done it before in the past.
Connections.
But it's kind of cool to see these guys that are willing to stand up. Like Kevin Sorbo was a great example, actually.
Yeah. Well, especially for the, I would say what he's been through and what he's doing is literally the essence of pick up your cross daily. As far as when we're talking like Hollywood actors and stuff, because, like I said, Hollywood tried to crucify him, like they tried to get rid of him, and he's like, nope, not doing that. And he's not ashamed of it. He's done interviews. I've watched interviews with him saying, like, no, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm not letting the forces that be try to stop it.
Yeah. So we haven't talked about 2 that should have been obvious to us. But you got... I'll start with Mel Gibson. Okay. So, Mel Gibson...
He's got some ups and downs.
He is a roller coaster ride.
He is a roller coaster ride, for sure. Roman Catholic.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean one way or the other with, what he believes. But I'm just saying, like, he's right there in public. And he's done some really rough things. Some heavy substance abuse as far as drinking and being stuck in that.
Yeah.
At times.
But he's used that to God's glory as well. Whether...
Sure.
So, because he was... I saw this thing. He was one of the people that helped get Robert Downey Jr. back on his feet.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, he apparently was very encouraging to Robert and gave him some advice to find his faith. Robert Downey Jr. said, whatever that faith may be, but it has to have to do with forgiveness. And but he supported Robert when he was on his list because Robert had a very similar past to Mel, and Mel, of course, going through it. One of the things I would say I like about Gibson is, well, I've always been a fan of his work.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
I love his movies.
He's fun.
Yeah.
And crazy. I love his... He's got the right kind of crazy in his acting.
Yeah.
I mean, one might say that he lives it, but he seems to be a fun guy. He would be a fun guy to...
I think he would be a lot of
act
fun.
with. And
I'd love to have... That would be another guy I'd love to sit and have a conversation with for probably, like, better part of it.
As long as his Braveheart movie was.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll have 2 parts.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, like, so the thing I like about him that I think maybe more people should grab hold of is the fact that when he messes up, yes, but then he'll be like, yeah, I messed up, I'm sorry. And then he wants to go, and it's not like he's using Christianity. Some people want to say that he is as a crutch to be like, oh, I'm trying to get better. No, that's where he just leans to when he knows he's messed up. He goes and leans on his faith. People take it the wrong way, but when I see it that way, I'm like, well, I mean, that's where I would need to get myself out of a hole.
Right. What? I mean, that's the average Christian is that way, right? I mean, like, if you, she's bored over here. If you or I screwed up, it'd be like, it's generally because we got off track, right? Mm-hmm. We neglected, some things and got off track, and we got leaned back into it, right? So you and I are judged just about as heavily, in our regular everyday by the people around us. Just not politicized, or not politicized, publicized. Like, it's not just public, in public view.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Then.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you.
Yeah. I mean, so then you have another celebrity who
It's very David-esque.
What?
That's very David-esque.
Yeah, it is David-esque. So Jim Caviezel, to me, is like, I don't know. When it comes to someone who's got celebrity status that goes out and pretty much lives it, Caviezel is at the top of my list.
Yeah.
I feel like...
I can never remember who he is. I mean, I know everybody talks about him.
He was Jesus in Passion of the Christ.
Okay.
He recently did a movie...
Sound of Freedom.
Sound of Freedom.
Right, and I haven't seen that one.
What TV show was he on that ran for a really long time?
He was... I was just getting ready to say it, and then it went out of my mind. Oh, man. He... Person of Interest. Yes. Person of Interest. Yeah, and he actually did that fairly well as well, where he seemed to be able to maintain a lot of his moral standards throughout that, because I saw a few episodes and I was like, I think he's doing fine.
Now, what put him on the map? Because
what put him on the map is the fact that he took on the role. Like, the thing that really...
Of Jesus.
Yeah. It was funny because the very thing that they said was going to bury his career solidified his career in a very similar way.
Well, I mean, I had never heard of him.
Well, see, no, a lot of people hadn't. But the thing is they were like, yeah, if you take on this role, you're done. And Jim Caviezel said, no, I feel like I have to. And he did it and went through a lot, apparently, to do it. And then, yeah, they thought maybe this would be it. But he's maintained...
Didn't he almost die playing that role?
Yeah. Yeah. He got struck by lightning like twice, dude.
Yeah.
So,
nuts.
I mean, talk about earning it. But... And he even got scourged. He got hit by one of the whips. So, but he, since then he's moved on. He's done other things. His career has not been over. And that guy is out proclaiming the gospel all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, talk about it. I mean, like, it's an uncompromising thing where he still maintains, he's still famous. I don't think that's going away. He still gets work. And yet he still gets to get the work done. So I look at him and I'm like, I think that's a great way to do it. The other person that could possibly be on that list soon would be Jonathan Rumi. He's the guy that plays Jesus for The Chosen.
Mm.
Like, he's not as many people looked at his direction until The Chosen came out. And now people just see him as like...
He's been in several things since The Chosen started, didn't he?
Well,
he did the whole Jesus movement or
Jesus Revolution?
Jesus Revolution,
yeah.
that's one.
I thought he did a great job.
I haven't seen that yet, but...
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I know he was in that.
Actually, that movie was so great because for anyone who watches The Chosen, And if you love The Chosen, if you've seen all The Chosen, I'm going to tell you right now, and you haven't seen Jesus Revolution, go see it, because not only is it a great movie, which it is, but there's a few things in there for Chosen fans. There's just a little nods your direction. Oh yeah, if you know what you're looking for, and if you're a big fan, you're going to catch them, and it's going to be awesome. So,
cool.
Yeah, it's definitely. No. But so he's out there, and he's got the notoriety. But the thing is, it's easier for him right now, I believe, as compared to Caviezel. Because Caviezel, when he got done playing the Passion of the Christ, he wasn't still playing Jesus. Rumi's still playing Jesus,
sure,
at a high level, and he's done these other things, which is great. But right now, he's living that world. So it'll be more interesting to see what happens after The Chosen's over.
Yeah.
So it's like you could be on that list.
He's still got another 3 years.
He's still got a few years, yeah. But I mean, right now I'm hoping that that's going to be the case, because I've really come to appreciate a lot of what he says and does. But you're going to have to get past this before you can really put the proof in the pudding. Like, you're going to have to keep living this after the role is over.
Right. Or just keep taking other roles.
Just keep being
totally
Jesus on film. So, the other one I was going to tell you about, I've seen John Schneider. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I know Dee Snider.
Well, no, John Schneider was Dukes of Hazzard, the original Dukes of Hazzard. He was Jonathan Kent in Smallville, but he does
Jonathan Kent. Is that Dad?
Dad.
Okay.
And so he's a Christian, and he does a lot of Christian movies too, which I didn't know until, because I used to watch Smallville, and I didn't pick up on that, but afterwards I found this out. And it's kind of neat, because you have this guy who played a bad boy. He played a Dukes of Hazzard bad boy. It's kind of fun. And now he's out there, and he kind of stands up for it. He also still lives a little bit vicariously through the Dukes of Hazzard, I think. But but I like him a lot, and it's kind of cool because I've seen him a few things of him speaking, and I really appreciated what he has had to say as well. But anyway, so yeah, celebrities that it's, I don't know. I think sometimes, going back, I really feel it's good to have, like, we want to have people that represent us well in the public eye.
Yeah.
But it goes hand in hand, because when you have that, you also get the criticism in the public eye too.
Yeah.
That makes it difficult. Like, but in the church, in the local church, we still have it, because you'll have somebody come in, and they're a bit of a mess, and sometimes you get what's the right way to say this? I'm
not helping you with this one.
Oh, come on. You know what I want to say. You get some people that are a little less forgiving, maybe.
And more judgy.
More judgy.
More judgy.
That's the best way. Let's not call them names. But, yeah, they have a harder time opening up to a lot of things, actually, where it comes to Christianity and where it needs to go. Not necessarily progressive Christianity. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how we need to be. But yeah, so when somebody comes in and they look a fool, yet they're chasing Jesus, I'm like, let's focus on what's really important, is the Jesus part.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised you're not giving me feedback on that.
Sorry.
I just think,
go ahead.
Too, from like some of the things that I've seen with some of the interviews of some of these celebrities and stuff like that, they knew that they would become under attack when they knew that all this stuff was going to happen, and they willingly did it and made it public, and not necessarily so that would happen, but with the knowledge that this is what's going to happen to me. Like, I know that I'm going to be criticized, I'm going to be talked about, whatever. So, like, kudos to them for doing that, because that's opposite of what the world is telling them and saying, well, this is what you should be doing, or whatever. So, because I watched an interview with Kat Von D, and she was like, she gets, even sometimes when she still goes to church, people look at her in judgment, and she feels it, and people have said stuff to her face and stuff like that. And she's like, I expected that. Like, that doesn't really bother me. She's like, I'm trying to build my faith and do the best that I can. And, like, if people want to doubt me, okay. Cool. Like, that doesn't and shouldn't affect me and my faith and my pursuit of God and all of that.
Right. I think having that, being able to be secure in that, that's so important. I think it's for anyone, because any of us that come to Christ, walking out into the world, the Bible tells us the world's going to hate you because of me. Trying to find your anchor there and being secure in Christ is so important, so that no matter what happens, whether it's criticism or whatnot or questioning, we can stand firm. It's difficult to, if you don't have that security, that secureness in you, it's going to be difficult to be out there and do it. That's when it's going to start to beat you down.
And what a great testimony too. They were a lot of these people were the complete, or some of them that we started off with, were the complete opposite of a Christian, and now they've come to Christ, showing that literally anybody can change.
Absolutely. That's my favorite part
and
of it.
I think about a lot of them, and it's how many people prayed for this person instead of judging them and condemning them, prayed for them and talk and we're willing to have a conversation with them about, have the beginning conversations, to plant the seeds, to do all those things. How long has God been working in their lives to bring them to this point?
Yeah.
Well, I think of people like Alice Cooper, right?
Yeah.
Come full circle, right? He was raised in the church. I believe his parents were pastors in the church, or his dad or whatever. Went off the rails.
Yeah.
And then has, within the last, 10 or so years, come back to the faith and really started promoting, his beliefs or whatever. And the way that I look at it is, if somebody like that,
who's literally done everything,
who's literally shown everybody everything that you could show, from having his head cut off in the middle of his shows to, all that, you can't go just about anywhere without saying his name and people recognizing who it is, right? Well, his band's name, technically.
The thing is Alice Cooper, saying the name Alice Cooper, whether you know his music,
right,
the name rings a bell.
Right.
Yeah.
So, if he can flip his life around, if people like Brian Head Welch can turn their life around, here's one that you wouldn't necessarily think of, but if Michael W. Smith can turn his life around, or could, because when he got into music, he went down the cocaine trail really hard and went all kinds of nuts. So if all these guys, right, can do it, then anybody else can. And the judginess needs to hit the road. The people who are judging are the people that are needing Jesus the most.
I think what we need to be more supporting as a whole. I think spending time being judgy is a waste of time a lot of times.
And judgy meaning
not meaning keep your guards up a little bit just in case, but being
just condemning.
No. Yeah,
no,
condemning.
Right.
Yeah.
Saying this person's going to hell or not, or that's sort of this person couldn't be, or whatever.
Or I don't want to be in heaven that has this place.
Right. I've heard that before too, and that's crazy. I'll
be then I guess I won't be seeing you there.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be there.
So I don't know. I that's what we mean by judgy. We don't mean holding each other accountable and calling people out. That's different. And I think that you should maintain the calling people out if they're within your circle.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And important to say within your circle, right?
Yeah. I think there should be, honestly, I think it would be great to see celebrities that are Christians, that when a new celebrity comes to Christ, kind of come up beside them, even publicly, and say, look, I got this person's back.
Right.
No matter who it is. The ultimate thing is, we got to keep in mind, we want to be encouraging, because if it's true, then we want to help them as much as we can.
Sure.
If it's not, by being discouraging, we're not helping them get there. Because ultimately, we can't know where anyone is. It's between them and God. And I think what's going to be really interesting is when people get to heaven, and they're looking around and they see people like, oh, you actually really were serious? Yeah, they were serious. You didn't want to believe it.
Right. Well, yeah.
You know,
for sure.
Like I might have said this before on here, but there's the 3 greatest surprises of heaven, right? Did I say this before?
I don't know, maybe, probably.
No, the 3 greatest surprises. The first surprise is who's there. The second is who's not there. But the third is that you're there. And that's the best one. That's the one that makes you worship. And
see, I don't know if the third one exists. Like, it won't be a surprise. Like, I know where I'm going. I'm headed there. I don't think it'll be a surprise.
Maybe it won't, but I think it'll be great to be like, oh, good, we're good, everybody's good. I'd be high-fiving.
I mean, maybe a relief, but not. I don't think it'll be a surprise.
Either way, you're worshiping. So,
it's true.
But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see, you know, because like some people are like, well, these are actors that are good at acting. I'm like, okay, cool. What does it benefit them?
Well, and that's what I was going to say too. Like Paul speaks to this kind of a thing when he says, you know, if Christ is preached in sincerity, great, and if he's preached in vain for selfishness, then good. His name is still preached, right? Yeah. So whether these guys are just trying to win over a certain crowd of audience, they're still proclaiming Jesus' name in front of millions of people, right? Yeah.
And I'll take it.
I will too. And like the commercial, the what is it? The Jesus commercial that's been at the Super Bowl and all that stuff. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people went down the road of like, you know, oh, these people support this and this and this and this and this, and it's like, you know what? They spent a lot of money to preach Jesus at the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Whether
the company is sincere or not, Jesus got preached at the Super Bowl, yo. Like, how phenomenal is that? Like,
that's the thing. Like I'm saying, a world audience. You know, that's why I brought up The Undertaker. His acceptance speech. This is something that was viewed around the world and is going to continue to be viewed around the world because of the legend status that he has.
Right.
Because people are going to go and watch that.
I'm going to go back and watch it because I haven't seen it yet. So.
Yeah. Oh, you haven't seen it yet?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Well, spoiler alert.
No, it's great. It's great. I'm not shocked at all.
So,
in fact, there's other people that have done the same thing during their acceptance speeches. I know. I'm pretty sure Shawn Michaels did.
I believe, did.
There's a couple others I think that did too. But yeah. So good stuff.
Yeah. Keep proclaiming the good word, as long as it is proclaimed.
So, all right. So there's lots of unreasonable expectations, right?
Yeah.
But what are reasonable expectations? What should we be thinking? We all know what we shouldn't be thinking, if we actually dig, you know. But what's the right expectations? Like, what should we be seeing?
Well,
and don't go simple, easy Bible answer of the fruits of the Spirit. Because obviously, but like,
I mean,
what should we expect from these people? Because everybody, I have expectations for everybody.
I call it. My answer is not overly complicated. It's pretty simple, but I look for faith movement, is what I call it, where you see things developing one way or another. Even most recently, talk about celebrities. I was reading this story about Ozzy Osbourne, and somebody was evangelizing to him and gave him a Bible. And then Sharon Osbourne reached out to the person and said that he'd been taking it everywhere with him. And I was like he saw it as a very precious thing.
That's really crazy because I've always said if Alice Cooper can do it, then there's hope for Ozzy Osbourne.
Dude, I'm with you, and I'm rooting on it. But the thing is when I saw that, I was thinking, see, that is called faith movement. Like the fact that he's got this Bible, he now sees it as a precious thing. He's taken it everywhere, like, and reading it. I think she also said he was reading. I'm like, great. Those are the steps that I need people.
Baby steps
that people need to take, whether he's accepted it yet or not.
Right.
To see someone moving in the right direction, we should always be encouraging.
Well, he's at least taking it seriously then, right? Like
more seriously
whether he agrees with it or not, he looks at it as a serious thing that he needs to explore.
Yeah. So when you see someone like and when somebody's coming into your church, if we break away from celebrities, I mean celebrities we can hold them to this too, but like someone comes into your church and they they're new to Christianity, and so they say, well, yeah, I made the decision. I gave my life over to Jesus. They got baptized. There's things like, because people are always wondering if somebody was baptized, if they took it seriously or not, which is interesting in itself. But
well, we could go down that rabbit trail someday.
Yeah, but I mean, baptism. I have strong opinions. I'm for it.
So
but
do I.
The thing is, like,
we're not going to go down there today.
Not yet. Okay,
not
so
today.
The thing is like, when you see these people take these movements, all right, cool. If they're standalone, right? If they come in, they do it that day, and then you never see them again. It's like, okay. And if you have if they're not going to church anymore, you don't see them reading their Bible. I don't expect everyone to come in and suddenly be wearing Jesus is my homeboy T-shirts like I do sometimes, and leading Bible studies the next day, and I that could be in the future, but I mean that wasn't my path. I wasn't day one perfect. I actually tried to be.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. Nobody's perfect, right? Like that's not even the goal.
No.
I mean, that's not the goal. In fact, I see the goal in this lifetime is doing life with Jesus through the screw ups and the not. Like, my goal is not to become perfect. My goal is to live with Christ, and He will make me perfect one day.
My goal is to draw as close to Him as I can while I'm still here to do it.
Sure.
So that when I'm there, actually there, it's like just the next great step. That'll be amazing.
Right. Well, and honestly, living life with Christ now and here makes it makes it,
that much greater.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
actually, it actually makes it like, okay.
Yeah.
This was the goal.
Yeah.
I can appreciate this.
Yeah, and you get more ready.
Not that we wouldn't.
I think you get more ready for it, but also it's not even about being ready. It's just about like
recognizing we need it in the end.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, but going back, so I will say this: when I finally, because I grew up going to church, and then I spent some time kind of not doing it, and until I finally, God tapped me on the shoulder and said, "You ready?" And I'm like, "Yes." So I gave my life officially at that point to Christ. And I will tell you this. I wanted to chase God with everything I had at that moment. But I also wanted to act as if I was already there. And that was the mistake I made then.
You see, I see that in a lot of college students that go for Bible.
Yeah.
They act like they're already there, and it's like, oh man, you got so much to learn.
And God.
Wait till God slaps you right side the head.
Yeah, God spoke to me about that at that time, and basically pointed that out to me, that this isn't His doing, it's my doing, and I think too many times we get caught up in that, where it's like we're looking for our own works. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, God will work in you if you keep doing the right things by reading your Bible and actually drawing as close you can to God in all the ways that you can. He will do that work in you, not to say that you don't need to put an effort, but it's not all on your effort.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was trying to put a lot too much of my own effort into it at the beginning. And this was back 2004, 5 area. And so I remember thinking I needed to be a certain way. So I'm going to do it. And that's not real, and and sometimes you can see it, And I don't try to. Well, just to stay on point of where we're at. I try not to criticize people when I see that. More like caution them. Hey, take it easy. I know you're excited.
Yeah.
People
do, and
pace yourself.
It's real easy to hop on so quick that you become pharisaical and judgy. It's easy for that to be on the other side when you're like, oh my gosh, I've been missing out on this Jesus thing. I'm gonna ride this Jesus thing out like crazy. And it's easy to then be like, okay, I'm gonna put all of these blocks in my life so that these things don't happen. And then you get to a point where you're like judging everyone around you, and it's like, okay, let's take a few steps back real quick. It's still okay to live life. I mean, you don't You don't have to put the roadblocks unless you need the roadblocks, right? Guide rails, sure. Roadblocks, no. Yeah. Because the roadblocks then become the focus.
Yeah, I think the worst thing about a Pharisee is that they want to make more Pharisees.
Yeah. And
I think, like, do you realize what kind of burden you're putting on people? They forget the grace aspect of it, which is what these celebrities need. But it's the grace that everyone needs when they come to Christ.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
for sure.
It's incredibly important. It's a heavy importance of the gospel itself. You know, where it's like that's what you're calling people to is not what Christ is calling people to right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, for those of us who've been in the church a long time, like most of our lives, when we get judgy, I like to be like, well, yeah, but your mistakes have been since you knew Jesus. Their mistakes were before. And that's been one of the hardest struggles for me in life is like, I've been claiming Jesus since I was 5. I've been riding that train, that bandwagon, that lifestyle since I was 5. And all of the mistakes and stupid stuff and addictions that I've gotten myself into has been since I knew Jesus, beyond a shadow of a doubt. So, like, who am I to judge, right? Like, I've made the mistakes, and I knew Jesus.
Yeah,
these people didn't know that there was something better out there, and they made these mistakes. Like, yeah. I am not somebody who could ever judge.
Yeah, the pre-Jesus stuff, like, it's really hard to judge someone for that,
right?
Especially knowing that, like, you're right. I don't know if I've ever actually known anyone personally. None that I can think of that have come to Jesus and then not made a mistake.
Sure, but I mean, there's the people who you see a difference, right? Whenever you see somebody who had BC days, really, really had them and made lots of mistakes, because their life changes, and then their mistakes are, oh darn, I screwed up, you know. But then, like, those who have been with Jesus for most of their life, the mistakes that they make are getting stuck in ruts for long periods of time that you know better. You knew better in the very beginning. Like, it's not a oops, I didn't know better, you know, where a lot of the people who are coming out of it, they didn't know better. They didn't know there was a right way and a wrong way. You're choosing the wrong way if you already know better, right?
Yeah.
So,
and thank God that His grace is sufficient.
Amen.
In our weakness.
Yes, absolutely.
That is such an important thing.
Yeah.
Such
100%. So, quit being so overly critical. Yeah. Like, if this is a message for you, don't be so overly critical of people who aren't perfect as soon as they come to Jesus. But celebrate the things that they are portraying of Jesus when they claim Him, right? Yeah. Let's celebrate those things. Let's build them up. Sure, Chris Pratt may never see a message that you put anywhere about him, but if it's the positive one that he does read, like, think about that. Yeah. Think about when somebody gives you a positive message saying, hey, hang in there. You know, like, it is always uplifting, regardless of who it's from, to get a positive message. And so, like, let's love people through their mistakes, right?
Absolutely.
Let's love people to Jesus. And if they're within your sphere of influence, then hold them accountable and allow them to hold you accountable. But if they're outside your sphere of influence, just encourage them. I mean, that's the safest thing to do, and that's the best thing to do. That's what Jesus would want you to do. I think it's what Jesus did. You know? So, there's that.
Yep.
And, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Encourage, build up, don't tear down.
That's exactly right. And once again, we'd love to hear from you guys. Like, we love it every time you message us. Share, like, subscribe. I think there's a little bell icon.
There's a bell.
And that you could hit. You can give us, whatever, 5-star ratings, right? Yeah. If you want to.
All those things.
And any of the star ratings, I don't care. Just rate us. Like, that means you're watching. So, but preferably higher ratings. Write in. Let us know what you want us to talk about. Let us know if you want to be on here. And if you know somebody that knows somebody, like, let's get them on here. Tag people. I dare you to tag people on the social medias, right? Like,
dare.
I dare you.
Triple dog dare.
Oh, triple dog dare. That means you got to do it. So, share this.
You won't.
You won't.
Oh.
You won't.
Bet. Okay. All of the words and things that people say. Yeah, so thetruthresponse@gmail.com, Facebook, Instagram. I've been posting some crazy stuff lately.
YouTube.
We really need YouTube. Duh.
YouTube.
Bad dad joke. But we really want a social media person if you're interested in that sort of thing. It doesn't pay anything, but it does give you jewels in heaven. Thanks, guys. God bless.
Hey, thanks for joining us. Make sure to subscribe and give us a like on iTunes and Spotify so that you will never miss a show. And while you're at it, check out our Facebook and Instagram pages and make sure you tell your friends about this show. You don't want them to miss out on the truth because we are all about the truth here. Thanks for joining us this week, and God bless.